and welcome back to Student of the Gun Radio. Thanks for joining us again this week. We truly appreciate it. I am your host, Professor Paul Markle, and joining me in the Student of the Gun studios, that's a lot of STUs to put in one sentence, I know, but we have Jared. Jared is my producer and webmaster and the man behind the curtain that makes all the stuff happen. And thank you for joining us, and we want to give a happy Father's Day. I know by the time you hear this that Father's Day will already have been over, but this is Father's Day week, so to speak. So happy Father's Day to my father, Gerald, and to all the fathers and dads and grandpas out there. We hope you had a fantastic day and were able to appreciate your family. And we hope that if your dad is still around, that you took the time to appreciate your dad.
I appreciate my dad every day. But today I just want to say happy Father's Day to my father, Paul. And I want to also say that every father out there gave birth to a child except for mine. He helped give birth to a legend.
All right, you used that.
I didn't say that on the radio.
No, you said it on Mother's Day.
Not out. Did I say it out loud?
Yeah, you did. You said it on Mother's Day.
Well, look at that. Both my parents,
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, Jared got to use that twice this year.
I didn't want to leave you out.
So there's another, there's one more. We got to wait a whole another year. But before we jump into the gun-related stuff, I did want to share a quote with you. And this was a quote that was shared with me today on Father's Day as we record this by my lovely wife. And it's from Sigmund Freud. And the quote says, "I cannot think of any need in childhood as strong as the need for a father's protection." And I thought that was very, very appropriate for Student of the Gun and for this day. Now, folks, we've got a lot to talk about this week because things, every once in a while, we think, wouldn't it be nice if we just had a calm week, if there was nothing in the news for us to talk about, but that's not this week. Before we jump into it, let's thank our good buddies down there in Cocoa, Florida, Keltec Weapons, and you can check them out at keltecweapons.com. Crossbreed Holsters up there in Republic, Missouri, and we've got some really cool stuff about Crossbreed coming up on the TV show very soon. Colt, the makers of the LE901 rifle. And then, of course, we have our XS Sight sponsor, XS Sight Systems, and they sponsored the XS Sight's Good Guy of the Week. And if you want to be the good guy of the week, all you have to do is post a question to either our forums, the app, or any of our social media. And Jared digs through those every single week. You guys are doing a great job. Don't stop. We hope you appreciate the fact that we can't answer every question, but we try. We try as best as we can. Jared, tell us who our good guy of the week is and what was their question?
Our good guy this week is Cody Scott, and he wants to know about first aid and giving first aid to an attacker. He says, in the event that you are forced to defend yourself with a firearm and the attacker goes down and is incapacitated and no longer a threat, is it a bad idea to apply any kind of first aid while waiting for the police to arrive? This, of course, is taking into consideration that yourself and any bystanders are not injured.
Very pertinent question, Cody. And the reason I chose this question this week, that we picked it out, is because, as you probably know, if you've been following Student of the Gun, that we have Student of the Gun University. And one of the classes that we teach at Student of the Gun University is the Beyond the Band-Aid Traumatic Medicine course, or Fighting First Aid. And we've gotten over the years, we've been doing this for a while. I've been writing articles about traumatic first aid and so forth. And people will write silly, ridiculous letters to the editor or posts on, Facebook or whatever, or these comments are like, well, that's stupid because I just shot him and I'm not going to do first aid on him, or basically they're saying they don't need that kind of training because if I shot the bad guy, I'm sure he's not, trying to save his life. Well, what those people are missing is they're missing the point that it's not just bad guys that bleed. It's not just bad guys that end up with traumatic injuries. And it's not just shootings and felonies and robberies that will result in traumatic injuries. As we talked about, if you guys watched Student of the Gun TV this week, you saw that we had a mock car crash, and we dealt with that mock car crash.
And if you didn't see it, you should go see it. It's on the website right now at studentofthegun.com.
That's right. Yeah, if you guys didn't see it, please go watch it, because Jared and all of our production staff, our production assistants, we had a bunch of production assistants that day. We had a Dallin was our pyrotechnics guy that day, and we had smoke and cars and crashes and blood and all kinds of stuff. So if you haven't seen it, pop over to studentofthegun.com. It's up on the site right now. But to get back to the Beyond the Band-Aid or the fighting first aid, you say, well, should I do that? To your question, I would say that would be the last thing that I would do. I'm not going to say no, but I'm going to say that in the reality of a life or death shooting situation, a life or death felony situation like that, that the bad guy who initiated it, hopefully in a good world, the only person injured because of their actions is the bad guy. Now, that's not always the case, but let's just say that it is. Let's say you get a clean shoot and the only guy that's injured is the bad guy. Well, do you know that for a fact? And Chad says, he goes, well, I know. Well, okay. Spend the time checking yourself. Spend the time checking the good guys, making sure the good guys aren't bleeding. Spend the time looking around and making sure there are no other bad guys, making sure the bad guy doesn't have any friends in the crowd. And, what I'm going to tell you, if it's at home and you think it was one home invader busted in your door, you shoot him and he's down on your porch and there aren't any other people, and you can have a good guy cover him with a gun, so yeah, maybe then you would go ahead and do it. Now, out in public where you have no control over who comes and goes, the last thing I would do in a situation like that, especially if I didn't have backup, if I didn't have other armed people around me. And don't forget, it's always good, if it's good to have one armed good guy, it's always good to have 2 or 3 armed good guys. It's better to have, the more armed good guys. What is the axiom? Always be armed and always take a friend that's armed or something like that. But yeah, that's the last thing you need to worry about. Make sure that you're safe. Make sure that your friends and family are safe. Make sure that there are no other threats to you or your friends and family. If you are out in public, you need to get to an area of safety or cover where you're not going to be in any more jeopardy. Now, I'm not telling you get in your car and drive 5 miles away. I'm telling you to get to an area of cover. Call the police. Make sure that and make absolutely sure, do not assume, because everybody at the scene is probably assuming that somebody called.
You know what they say about the word assume, right?
Yep. You, ass, and you and me. Yep. That's right. So, never, ever assume. A lot of first responders will teach you, if you're responding and you point to someone in the crowd, you say, you, call 911. Don't just say someone call 911. You say, somebody call for help. People will look around. They're like, well, I'm recording this on my cell phone. Which is just a disgusting trend in America today, but I digress. So to your question, number one, we would hope that you would have the skill and the gear to take care of yourself, your friends, and your family, and your loved ones in the event of a traumatic emergency. And the last person that I'm going to treat is going to be the bad guy, the felon, the person that actually started this whole process, whose actions are a result of him being on the ground bleeding or what have you. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but you must make absolutely certain that you and all other good guys are safe and secure from other threats before you would go over there. And also, don't put your hands in felons' blood. A large majority of bad people, of professional bad people, drug addicts and scumbags, have all kinds of diseases, hepatitis and what have you. Hepatitis is running rampant among drug users right now. AIDS isn't quite so much of a big deal as it used to be, but I don't want hepatitis all over me because you can't get rid of that crap. Or can you? I think it's really, really hard to get rid of it, isn't it? There's certain strains that it's like herpes, you get it forever. Point being is the jacked up crack addict that came at me with a razor, that's not the guy's blood. That's not who blood I want to have on my hands. So just FYI. All right, moving on. And Jared, tell them if they are like, ooh, you piqued my interest in fighting first aid. Where can I go to find out more?
Well, before I piqued your interest in that, now I need to tell Cody Scott what to do. Cody, I need you to email me. That's Jared, Jarrad, at studentofthegun.com. I need your address, your shirt size, and your phone number. And so I piqued your interest, right? And you want to get some medical training, or you want to get some pistol training to learn how to defend yourself against that attacker. You can go to studentofthegungear.com, or if you want to look at all the classes, you can go to studentofthegun.com and click on the training tab. I actually just redid it 2 days ago. So go there and look at my work and maybe click on some things and tell me what you think. But that's where you get all the information on all the classes. And if you want to sign up, then click on the little button for ballistic problem solving or whatever you want to take, and it'll take you where you need to go.
Yeah, thanks for that, Jared. Jared and I are very excited. I don't know if you can tell by the tone of our voices, but this is going to be a really big summer for us and a really big fall. We're pushing out. We've got several classes right now that are scheduled at Student of the Gun University, and you're like, what? What's a Student of the Gun University I'm hearing about for the very first time? Well, just like Jared said, go to studentofthegun.com and click on the tab that says training. And it's that easy. It gives the descriptions of all the classes. Some of the classes have multiple dates. So when you're looking at them, you think, oh, I can't take it that date because my niece is getting married or something. Some of them do have multiple dates that you can choose from. We would love to see you guys out there, fans of Student of the Gun, our students of the gun out there in the world. We'd like to see you down here in Free America. Come on down, spend some time with us in Free America at Student of the Gun University.
We want to show you what it's like to take a real training class. That way, we've had several questions about how do you know what to look for, or how do I know whether I'm spending my money on something that's quality? Well, come take a quality class, and then you'll know after that whether you're taking another.
You can smell the humility on him, can't you, folks? But no, that is a good question, or it's a good statement. People are like, well, how do I know? And the truth of the matter is, if it's your first class, it doesn't matter whether you're taking piano lessons or ballet or tennis or golf or firearms training. If it's your first one, unless the person is like a complete moron, you have no idea whether it's good training or bad training. And you're like, well, what do you mean? How? I'm a smart guy. I would know. Well, I know. You know what I know about golf? I know that there are clubs and balls involved and bags and tees. That's what I know about golf. And if I were to take a golf lesson from somebody that was a mediocre golf coach, I really wouldn't be able to tell you, oh, that was mediocre or that was the greatest in the world, because I don't have any basis for comparison because I've never done it. Now, if I were to take 2 or 3 or 4 golf lessons or coaching sessions from different people, then I'd be like, oh, okay. And that's the way it is with firearms training. The more you get, the more experience you get, the more classes you take, the better able you will be, or the better equipped you'll be to be able to judge what's, high quality from mediocre to average or what have you. And that's really what we want you guys to do. I would never say you should take our classes and our classes only and no one else. No, that's bullcrap. I've been a professional instructor now in the use of force and firearms and first aid and all that jazz for over 20 years. And every year I go to classes. Every year I go to other people's schools. I've gone to Gunsight. I've gone to the SIG Academy, TDI Ohio, Tactical Response. I went all the way out to California and trained with Scotty Reitz at ITTS. And the best instructors in the world, and we've said this before, but it's a good time to mention it again. The best instructors in the world are the most dedicated students. And if you want to be a student of the gun, what do we say? You're a beginner once, right? But what are you, Jared?
You should be a student for life.
Should be a student for life. And how do you get started? You get started by taking some training.
So speaking of balls and clubs and golf and stuff, did you see we're running up our episode numbers here?
Oh, are we running up our episode numbers?
Yeah, we're on the episode right before 70.
Oh, is this episode 69, Jared?
Yeah, it is 69.
Is it making you giggle over there?
Yeah, I just giggled a little bit.
We're so immature. We're going to get letters.
We're sophomoric and immature.
Yep.
Whatever.
See, you just did it. We were all highbrow.
Well, they were waiting. I had to give them what they were looking
that
for.
Moment in time, and then you just blew it. You just went sophomoric on everyone.
Oops.
All right. Well, let's talk about the title story for this week's episode of this segment of Student of the Gun, and it's anything but a gun. And you're saying, well, what do you mean? Well, this story was shared with us by a student of the gun. You guys, I tell you what, you guys out there in the audience, you are our eyes and ears across America, and we really appreciate it. And this ties in with a previous episode we've talked about half measures and how progressive, liberal, hippie, douchebag, whatever you want to call them, they can never make the hard choices. They always have to do half measures. The whole plastic signs are going to save us from bad guys. And I talked about this after 9/11 with all these half measures that they were going to institute on airplanes. Some senator or congressman said we need to arm pilots, and they're like, "Oh, you can't arm pilots," because then you give the pilot the ability to harm people on the aircraft. Someone actually said that. An adult human said, we can't trust the pilot to be in possession of a gun, because he could hurt the passengers. If the pilot wanted to hurt the passengers, he could just grab that yoke sticky thing and point it straight down. And he doesn't need a SIG pistol with 10 rounds in it to kill everyone on the plane. So I thought that was one of the stupidest things. But someone actually said that. Oh, we can trust the pilot to fly us in the airplane from point A to point B. We are putting our lives in his hands, but we can't trust him to have a gun. So what did they decide instead? They were going to do a bunch of half measures. They're going to armor the cockpit doors, and they were going to give flight attendants tasers, and all these half measures, right? Well, they're doing the same thing with our public schools, or any schools in the United States now. The suggestion has been made. Look, we need to arm competent and trained school staff members. There's no reason that if these people can be trusted with the health and well-being and safety of your children, why they can't be trained to protect them with a firearm. And let's face it, even though I dog on the public school system a lot because it is crap today, there are still some dedicated human beings who find themselves working for the school system. I have a really good friend of mine, a friend of 25 years, who is a vice principal at a school. His name's Dick, and Dick he started out as an enlisted Marine, then he became an officer of Marines. He's a gun guy. He's been through a lot of training, and you'd think, well, okay, we've got a guy who was obviously a responsible individual. He was a United States Marine enlisted. He was an officer of Marines. He was in charge of people. He's the vice principal of a school. You think we might want to let that guy carry a gun just in case he has to defend the children from a lunatic? No, we don't want to do that. Let's go out and spend $10,000 on these ridiculous bulletproof blanket things. You guys have probably all seen that this week. These fluorescent orange bulletproof blanket things that they're with arm loops, so you can put the little kids in these things. What? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So you're going to teach him to put bulletproof blankets on and lay on the ground? It's insanity. Well, this story right here, the main story that comes to us from, where does it come to us from? Oh, SeattlePI.com. And it says, what should you do if confronted by a gunman? And it talks about the Seattle College incident where a student used pepper spray. Go team. And this is a go team. We hope you guys heard about this. He pepper sprayed the attacker, and I guess he tackled him or knocked him down or something, and ended the assault. And then we had the one at the school. Where was that school at, Jared? The recent school?
Seattle?
No, that was a college. There was one at a high school where an armed security officer confronted the kid, and one kid died, and then the one victim died, and then I believe the
Oregon, was it Oregon?
Yeah, it was in Oregon. So we have instances of people fighting back. So the pros, remember the security experts that tell us to be a good witness? Well, according to the Department of Homeland Security, I know you're scared right now. It says, the Department of Homeland Security suggests to you, the peasant, that fighting back is a final option. It's your last resort. Okay. It says, however, if you do decide to fight back, act with aggression, improvise weapons, and attempt to disarm him. And then it goes on to say that you should use things like fire extinguishers or chairs or scissors off your desk or what have you. Now, let me get this straight, Department of Homeland Security, and all you hippie liberal douchebags out there. So what you're admitting here is that, well, maybe after they've cowered or screamed or laid on the ground and waited for the guy to walk around and shoot him in the back of the head, maybe they've decided that that isn't the best idea in the world. But fighting back is only a last resort. I would debate that. I don't think fighting back is a last resort, and I really think that it bugs the living bejeebus out of the Department of Homeland Security to suggest to the peasants that they be allowed to fight back, but the public's eye is on them, and they kind of have to say something like that. So they say, well, okay, we will grant you permission. We will give you permission in a last resort to fight back. Oh, well, thank you, benevolent government, for allowing me to fight back, for telling me. Is it sick that in America we have to wait for a government bureaucracy to tell us that it's okay to fight back? Did you not learn that when you were a little kid? And you may not have. And that's the scary thing about the United States of America today, is that we have people that have grown up and never been taught that it is okay to fight back against evil and aggression. So, well, now how is it that it's okay to fight back with improvised weapons, with fire extinguishers and chairs, and hit them with the trash can? We even saw a video, how to defend yourself against a shooter in the workplace, where some guy grabs a garbage can and he hits the bad guy with the garbage can. Okay. I know you guys out there in my audience are pretty slick. I know you're pretty sharp. You might be all thinking, you're screaming at your iPod right now. You're screaming at the computer, at the radio. You're like, why don't you just shoot them? And that's what I'm saying. It's okay. Or scissors. Here's one. They're like, grab scissors off your desk and use them as a weapon. Now, hang on. What are they going to do with those scissors? Are they going to give the Johnny Jihad or Sammy the Psycho? You going to give them a haircut? What are you going to do with those scissors? We're going to stab them with the scissors? So it's okay to do severe physical harm to them with scissors.
Yeah, I was going to ask if somebody's attacking you, what justification do you need to be able to defend yourself?
Fear of imminent death or serious bodily harm.
Can you inflict death or serious bodily harm with scissors?
Oh, yeah. If somebody's coming at you with a pair of office scissors, they kill you with those? Yep. People get killed with scissors every year.
So they're trying to tell you that it's okay to defend yourself with scissors, which the end result could be the exact same thing as defending yourself with a firearm.
How about a claw hammer? So if
that wouldn't kill somebody.
Well, if there's a claw hammer, can you hit somebody with a claw hammer? If you whack somebody in the head with a 5-pound extinguisher, I don't know if they're telling you to spray them with the extinguisher or hit them in the head with it. Folks, why not just let the good people arm themselves with guns?
Well, because then the good people turn into bad people.
The guns turn you into...
Yeah, that's like going to the dark side.
Oh, I forgot. If you possess a gun, it turns you evil.
What if you carry a pink flowery gun.
No, the gun, it doesn't matter what color it is. It doesn't matter. Oh, so I thought you guys would appreciate that insane incongruity that we found there, that this government bureaucracy has decided that to give us permission in the gravest extreme, in the last option, that we're allowed to defend ourselves with improvised weapons. But they don't. It never in here does it say, "Hey, Sparky, it might be a good idea before Johnny Jihad or Sammy Psycho walk into the room to actually have a gun attached to your body, because that is a great way to stop bad people.
And it's a great way to stay in shape.
It's a great way to stay in shape. It's like, why don't we give, if scissors and fire extinguishers and chairs and trash cans are the best option, why don't we just issue out fire extinguishers and desk scissors to police officers? That way, just in case, if they encounter a bad guy, they can hit him with the fire extinguisher. What do you think? Good idea or bad?
I'm going to go with bad.
Yeah, but if it's good enough for you and I, certainly it's good enough for the employees of the state, right?
Oh, no, that's not how they think.
Oh, I forgot. My bad. If you're an employee of the state, your life is more valuable than that of a mere peasant citizen. So, okay, I got it. We're back on track right now. We thought you guys would appreciate that.
That's ridiculous. It saddens my heart that these things are happening. It really does.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for a Go Team moment. And this is one that I know you guys out there, I know you students of the gun, you're like, ooh, you need to talk about the St. Louis thing, about the mom and dad shooting the bad guys. That's right. In St. Louis, one is dead and another is in custody after two scumbags decided that they were going to hold this couple's daughter hostage. It's a sick situation here. And fortunately, the lead guy is currently worm food. They were able to catch the other guy. He'll probably do a little bit of time in jail. Don't expect a whole lot from the system. But and of course, surprise, not really. Both of the scuzzbuckets in this case are what, Jared? They're career criminals. They're professional scumbags. This wasn't their first time.
They didn't learn from the last time they got
No, they just learned how to do it better.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so what?
Well, in case you guys
there's so many things to say.
In case you guys are in the dark about this, you're like, what are you talking about, Paul? I work all week long. I don't have time to read the news. Okay. It's a Dateline St. Louis. A husband and wife armed with guns, Go Team, they had guns, were able to stave off an apparent home invasion attempt Monday night. And this would be a week ago Monday, as you hear this. Police said one man was killed and a second was taken to the hospital. What happened about 11 p.m. at the 4600 block of Northport Avenue. Essentially what happened is a 17-year-old daughter in this situation walked out of the house, went out to the car. She goes out to the car. These two masked armed men grab her and attempt to force their way into the house using the daughter as a shield. Talk about a horror story. Can you imagine this? Put yourself in that situation right there. You're at home, just relaxing. It's the evening. You're decompressing. You're ready to go to bed. And next thing you know, your daughter's screaming and two masked a-holes with guns are trying to force their way into your home. And what are they going to do? Well, if you're a good little sheep and you do what, the Sarah Brady campaign and all the other people and just be a good witness. Hey, Jared, what do you think would have happened to this family if they'd have decided that be a good witness was the appropriate action?
I'm going to go ahead and say that they probably would have got robbed and maybe killed. I don't know.
The father figure probably would have either gotten murdered or beaten down senseless, and the women would have been raped, and then they would have robbed them and maybe kidnapped them and took them out. But instead of that happening, these people were armed. Good for them. And the husband and wife both saw what was going on, retrieved guns, and shot the bad guys. So Go team. We appreciate that. Now, if you have not seen this story, don't forget when we mention stories, specifically news stories, and we reference them, we always put the show notes at studentofthegunradio.com. You can go into the specific episode and you can look up the show notes and share them with your friends and family and neighbors and all that stuff. There's also a follow-up story to the original story that the father that was involved in it, he went ahead and spoke out about the situation, talked about it. And you guys can look that up on your own if you want to do that. But we just wanted to reach out there and give a Go Team moment. And Jared, did you want to share the it was kind of a student of the gun moment, or we were talking about it earlier, about an email that you received from one of our...
yeah, let me pull it up real quick.
Okay. Yeah, you guys out there, we really appreciate the fact that you and you too, sitting over there. We appreciate all of you being out there in the Student of the Gun audience. We appreciate you taking the time out of your busy week, or maybe you just use it as background noise when you're on the treadmill, and that's cool too. But being with us, paying attention, and that's one of the great things about doing this show, is that our audience they're not a bunch of sheep. They're not a bunch of mind-numb robots. They're not taking their marching orders from us. They actually think about things, and they pay attention. And some people are actually paying greater attention now than they were maybe a year or two ago. And we applaud that. And every once in a while, somebody will take the time to write in and say, hey, just wanted to let you know. And this is an example of that.
This came from our friend. His name is actually Jared. So good on you for having a cool name. Jared Logic, I'm guessing it's Logic. If not, correct me. He wrote in the other day, and it's 3 paragraphs, and I'm going to read it all because he took that time and effort to write it. It says, I know how people work. I know you probably receive many times more negative feedback than positive, which is definitely true. He said, people tend to be complacent about things they like, but I wanted to take a minute to thank you and send you a little note to tell you that SOTG is making a positive difference. I'm a resident of Connecticut. Originally, I simply had a small rifle at home for home defense, and carrying a firearm was never something I seriously considered. He says, I obtained my pistol permit when the laws passed post-Newtown required a permit to purchase ammunition. While I was politically in support of the Second Amendment, I did not exercise that right fully. I had been listening to SOTG for a while, but on the day I heard you tell the story about the Cracker Barrel, something clicked in my head. I detoured from my commute home, went to a local gun shop, and purchased my first handgun. I now carry every day, all the time. I have you to thank for waking me up. I have become more politically active. I have joined local activist groups trying to overturn the draconian gun laws in Connecticut. I'm a Second Amendment advocate, even at the expense of friendships and despite the public perception of gun owners in this state. Thank you, and keep up the good work. And Jared, I really appreciate you taking the time to write that and send it to us. It gives us reassurance that people actually listen.
Yeah. It makes me get up out of the bed in the morning and actually record the show. So thank you very much.
Well, one thing that I want to hit on that he was talking about in here, he says even at the expense of friendships, and that's something that everybody that really supports the Second Amendment is going to have to come up with or come to and face. I had to do that early on. I did that before I was 21, even as I was growing and becoming.
Not just the Second Amendment, but the whole freaking Constitution.
Well,
but the founding documents thing.
People seem to be more outspoken about the Second Amendment than any other, because that's the only one they really know that exists.
Yeah, well, they're exercising their First Amendment right to protest the Second Amendment.
Well, what makes the First Amendment possible?
Hope and change.
You can keep your change.
Yeah, unicorn farts. Okay. So, all right, we just thought we'd share that with you. It was one of those things that came up, and Jared and I were talking about it off air, and he said, I want to share this, and I said, drive on, brother, drive on. Now, the next one we're going to talk about, this is a 911 failure. You're like, what? You mean I'm not supposed to just dial 911 and hide under my bed and wait for somebody to come save me? Well, you can do that, but sometimes it doesn't work that way. And this comes to us from WTSP.com. And the story says, Newport Richey, Florida is the headline, or the dateline, that is. While the victims in a Port Richey home invasion were involved in a shootout early Wednesday morning, they tried to call Pasco 911, but the call couldn't be transferred correctly. 10 Investigates has been reporting on the problems with this agency all year. And it says the latest problem is just stems from the fact that Pasco operators need to pass 2 certification tests, blah, 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 blah. It goes on to say that there's lots of reasons why it isn't working. And that's all we really wanted to talk about, was the fact that here we have a system. And how many times have you heard politicians get up on their stump and tell you, look you in the eye, look you in the face, and say, you're not a police officer. That's not your job. You need to call 911 and let the professionals handle it. That's their job. That's what they do. You're a peasant. You're a plebe. You can't be trusted to defend your own life. And I would say, any of your friends, how many of you guys have acquaintances or coworkers or maybe even relatives that are still stuck in that, well, I think the best course of action is just to call 911 and let the authorities take care of the problem, until it doesn't work, until they can't get to you, until whatever. Now, no ninnies. I know that there's always a few ninnies. We got the ninny factor going on out there. Some of you ninnies are like, so what are you saying? Don't call 911, Paul? No, ninny, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, if that is your only plan, then you are a great potential victim, and drive on with your life there. But you need to have something else in addition to, well, I have a cell phone. Does your cell phone stop bullets? Does your cell phone mend wounds? Does your cell phone put out fires? No, it doesn't do any of that? Hey, Jared, maybe we should come up with an app. We should come up with a fire extinguisher app to put in your iPhone 5, and you can use it to put out fires. How about a medical app so that you can use your phone to stop bleeding injuries? How about
if we could find a way to, hey, anybody that knows how to make that work, let's work together.
Yeah, you could fill your iPhone with 5 pounds of purple pea or Halon or something. But I digress. The point being is this: yes, when it is safe for you to do so, we highly recommend that you get the authorities, that you get the professionals rolling in your direction. But the big question that you need to ask yourself is, can I survive for that 5, 10, 15 minutes that it's going to take them to get rolling? Sometimes it's even longer. Where are you on planet Earth? I don't know. You tell me. But we just thought, we're not trying to even dig on the 911 system. It's technology, and it's run by human beings. There's going to be problems. There's going to be imperfections. So before you listen to your Aunt Tilly or your coworker Susie tell you about, you gun people just think you should have guns, but that's why they have a 911 system, so you don't need that. Say, Susie, shut up. Okay. That's going to bring us right to the end of this hour, of this segment of Student of the Gun Radio. Now, before we let you go, we want to remind you about Student of the Gun TV. If you're not watching Student of TV, A, shame on you. But B, you can watch it at Dish Network, channel 266, Monday nights at 9. That's Eastern time. Jared has put up all the information on our social media sites about the Roku app. Roku, we are now, Student of the Gun TV is available via Roku, via Apple TV, via Chromecast. I got it that time, Jared. I said Chromecast.
What did you try to say last time? You tried to say?
I tried to say Google Cast.
Google Cast.
Yeah, it's Chromecast, but whatever. And, of course, you want to download our Student of the Gun mobile app for free on your iPhone or your Android phone. Just go to Google Play or the iTunes Store, all that good stuff. Now, folks, we appreciate you guys being out there. We appreciate our sponsors, Keltec, XS, Colt, and, of course, Crossbreed. And remember, you're a beginner once, but you should be a student for life.